This conference will now be recorded.
The one that we were setting money aside for a truck.
There's the parks truck. I don't know about the road fund. There's the water truck. So which truck you're talking about? Louis'
Sharon,
truck?
what was the resolution you made at the end of last year about?
It was for parks truck / parks equipment. So both of them switched our funds in here, and then the water truck. And I'm not sure why those, maybe they just haven't got transferred yet because we were waiting to see what fund balance was. And that would be my guess, because it was out of fund balance. And I think this is the first report where we actually have all the bills paid and know what an actual fund balance is for the end of the year. Am I correct, David?
Yeah, but, so what happened was in the budget, you adopted the budget was adopted with a $33,000 fund balance on top. And we've been advised that that was applied towards reducing the levy. Reducing the tax rate, $33,000 fund balance. But there may be other. Wait a minute. It's almost time. I hate to be late.
She wants to give us this report, but there's a couple of things that needs to be kind of straightened out.
I'm actually gonna go to my first one, May. It's pretty late.
New system.
Hey, welcome. Would you please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, thank you for coming. Tonight, as you notice, it's not nearly as dark as it was for previous 7 o'clock meetings. And it'll only be getting lighter for a long time. So the first item, if you look at the agenda, we're going to do the acceptance of the minutes. There were 4 sets of minutes that need to be accepted today. We had a meeting on February 6, 2024 for the STR discussion. The minutes have been circulated, so may I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make it.
Second?
I'll second.
I think there was one.
Discussion?
Oh, sorry.
Any discussion?
I think there was a typo on the, can't remember, I had it written down, the money from for the homestead housing. I think there was just missing a letter in the name of it, the Northern, I think it says Northern or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, but I think that was the only,
You don't remember which meeting that was, right?
It's the February 6th that we're talking about?
Yes, no, that was an answer.
Isn't that what we're talking
That's the one we're having a motion on. I'm getting confused.
I'll find it. Don't worry
okay,
about it.
sorry, it was tiny, teeny tiny.
So we all in favor or no?
Any further discussion?
On that one, the only thing just is, it talks about, there was a discussion on a moratorium, but it's not a moratorium on the operation of STR, it's just a moratorium on new permits. So it could be, if that could be clarified, I appreciate it, but that's not a big deal.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. There's the February 13, 2024 regular meeting minutes were presented to us. May I have a motion to accept those? Tim makes it second.
about?
Darren seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. There's the February 27th meeting, the special meeting executive session, where we were back discussing litigation. Those minutes have been circulated and reviewed. I have a motion to accept those minutes. Is that you, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, and second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. On February 29th, we had a work session, and minutes were created and circulated about that work session. May I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Make it.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Were you there?
No,
Okay, so we'll have to find
I did
someone.
read them, but
A second.
So we'll find someone else a second. Tina seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, next on the agenda is reports from the codes department tonight. That's you, Doug.
We have 7 new building permits, $1,197 in fees collected. We have 62 open permits, approximately 5 site visits. We have 135 active permits for short-term rentals, and the total fees collected to date is $63,250.
Any questions from members of the board?
the only question I have is, because there has been discussion of a cap being implemented, are there people who aren't currently operating short-term rentals who are applying for permits in the anticipation of a possible cap?
There have been, not in the last month, but there have been prior to that.
Is that like more than 5?
Thereabout.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Doug? I'm gonna bring up with Doug right now also that I think the rate of applications may be slowing. Also, we recently had a situation in the town where the APA has classified an extra building. So if you have like a couple of buildings on a property and you're not within the hamlet, that is considered a tourist accommodation, which requires a commercial application of 16 pages to get a permit from the APA. And so I met with the APA. Executive director came to the town offices and we discussed it with them. So it may be that the APA has, they look upon it as this is apples and oranges. The fact that the Department of Health or the Department of Tax hasn't made that sort of leap to classifying these things as commercial with a separate, they call them tourist accommodations. It doesn't really matter in their view. They're applying their own set of rules and regulations. So this is, I think, with the governor's proposed budget of including sales tax on all short-term rentals of any kind. It's been sort of my sense that eventually the state of New York will weigh in a little more heavily about this, and it would to some extent remove some of the pressure that put on small communities to regulate their own short-term rentals properly. So in any case, I just wanted to, Doug brought that to my attention last week, and I talked to him about it. We don't really know. I'm just trying to find out. So the circumstances are, if you're in, I'll just use my property, for example. So I live in moderate intensity use, and I have a main house and 2 cottages. One of the cottages has been used by first my in-laws and then my daughter. So in the case that if we wanted to make that into a short-term rental, and we would need it, and the APA might consider that to be a tourist accommodation for which the commercial application would apply. So it really, I think if I was taking anything else from the meeting with the APA officials is, and this makes a certain amount of sense. It's been, I think, discussed before. It's the sort of pushing things towards the hamlets. If we could do it through zoning and keep it in the hamlet in those areas, this is just another sort of sign that that's the kind of ideas that the state may be heading towards within the park. So I thought I'd just bring that up because I know Doug has talked to them a couple of times, and I've been part of that conversation as well.
And that has been passed.
Oh yeah, they passed it. It's the circumstances are you were sort of telling me it has to be an extra building, right?
Well, it's a flyer that was created in 2013. The information is a footnote within that flyer. It's very, most people don't even realize it exists. But if you have a piece of property that has more than 1 dwelling on it, For example, something that didn't require an accessory dwelling was larger piece of property. And if you short-term rental it, then it becomes a tourist accommodation. If you long-term, it doesn't. Only it gets triggered for a short-term.
So that's just an FYI. Any other questions for comments? Anything else, Doug? Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is number 5, reports from board members. So Tim is first, please.
Okay. For those who don't know, Charles Hazelton has passed away, and I was contacted by one of his family members who asked me if the town could do something to recognize him, celebrate his legacy. I said I would be glad to try to help with that. Obviously, the least I would think we could do would be pass a resolution expressing our condolences and our appreciation for him. So if the rest of the board agrees with that, I will write that and we can pass it at our next meeting.
Yes, okay, I think so. Yeah.
So I attended the Association of Towns annual conference, and I attended the annual sort of an Ask Me Anything open forum with their attorneys. And I didn't get to ask any questions this year, but I did some follow up with 8 questions, and I have 4 answers for the public and for the board, and I've provided these to the board via email. So we have talked, and in the STR committee's recommendations, they recommended in our updated ordinance that we adopt regulations related to noise and smoke from campfires at STRs. But there's a sense, or there has been a sense that to do that, we would need to adopt a town-wide noise ordinance. And so I asked that question if that was correct, and the response was, I'm not aware of any reason noise and campfire regulations can't be addressed in specific town legislation on STRs. See the attached handout and a sample local law referenced in the handout. And in this local law, which is from the town of Cannabis, New York, which they consider the Association of Towns Attorneys have called their gold standard, they have restrictions related to noise quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. In our law, it's recommended, but in their law, it's not recommended. It's just part of the law. And then, of course, that brings up several other questions. But according to the Association of Towns Attorneys, that would be okay for us to include in our law. I also asked about treating STRs as businesses and the pros and the cons and of doing that, and she seemed confused by the question and referred to town laws 30 and 36, which apply to inns and hotels, and she referred to special use permits, all of which are things that apply to businesses. I asked about whether the members of our planning and zoning board can be paid, and she said yes, they can. And then I asked if, because we've had problems in the past fielding a zoning board of appeals with 5 members, if we could have a zoning board of appeals with 3 members, and she said yes, that would be okay. I've continued to receive correspondence about speeding. When I was running for office,
Where? I'm sorry.
every road in town,
Okay.
specifically Route 86 this time, but I've heard about it on Bonneview, I've heard about it on Springfield Road. And I just replied that I would bring this up. The only thought I have about dealing with this that the town could even possibly do would be cameras that would issue tickets. I brought this idea at our meetings before and didn't go anywhere. That's the only thought I have. If anyone here or anyone listening has other thoughts that the town could do, this is obviously an issue that easily one of the top 4 things people bring up to me. So there's a town judge election coming up. That will be this fall, and people interested in serving as the town judge can start circulating petitions fairly soon. At our last meeting, I brought up the idea of requiring a special use permit for STRs, and I don't think I explained that very well. I did post that on my Facebook, so to avoid boring some and angering others, I will not repeat that statement here. And then I would just like it if at this meeting or a work session or our next meeting, we could appoint Randy Lynch to the town planning board as an alternate. He has certainly demonstrated his investment in the community. He's received support from 260 voters. He's talked to around 100 people as he was campaigning door to door, and I think he's demonstrated his commitment and earned that appointment.
Thank you. We can also, that topic will come up. We have it in new business, I think, right? Do we have that somewhere? Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in discussions, appointments to the planning board.
Okay.
As a discussion, so that can come up again.
Okay, whatever draft of the agenda I saw, I didn't see it there. Thank you.
That's fine. You can report it. Darren.
So this month, I also attended the Association of Towns Conference, attended 2 days of classes, about 10 different classes I attended, ranging anywhere from grant funding to some of our CHIPS money. We also met with some tourism planning classes. Most of them were really beneficial, and I have brought back a lot of information, which still most of it needs to be shared with the town. I met with the park superintendent, both about new playground equipment from books that I brought back from the conference and trying to get some new lighting on the path and trails that lead up to the skating rink and the field out of Village Garage parking lot. I've had 2 meetings, I think, with Supervisor Smith on different things, and we've had a full committee Music Fest meeting, and then I've also met separately with Michelle on the Music Fest, and that is moving along. That's about it for this month.
Thank you. Laura?
You said that I could bring up the bike share during this portion or new business.
Well, it's in the new discussion.
Okay.
You can do both if you
Nope,
want.
that's okay. So I also met with John and Louie and had a nice tour of all of their departmental workings and all the equipment, and it was really enjoyable, and they both do a really awesome job. And I had no idea the amount of things that they do, and it's overwhelming. I can't even imagine keeping track of all those things. So that was enjoyable. I don't really have much to add. I'll talk about the bikes later, but there, that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tina?
Visitors Bureau this month at our meeting, we talked about the Music Fest, and the event's grown this year. They have 5+ bands ranging from a wide variety of music to help meet everybody's listening preference. With that being said, they couldn't get the regular production team that normally comes in and helps with all the lighting, the stage, everything that goes into it. This year's cost for that part of production is going to be roughly around $5,500. Everything's gone up, as everybody knows, this year. So with that being said, this event benefits the whole town. This is something that the whole town gets involved in. And I'd like to actually, down further in our part of the new discussion, but at this point I'd like to talk about it, of seeing if we could sponsor. I'd like to make a motion that we would donate $3,500 towards the stage to help support the Music Fest this year. And I'd like to see if the board's willing to do that to help support offsetting some of the costs towards the Music Fest this year. This is an event that brings the town together. It's something that everybody benefits from. It brings in a lot of people. And I'd like to see if the board would support that motion.
Okay, this is not on the agenda, so I'll have to ask, it would be okay if we entertain this motion?
Well, it is kind of on the new business, right?
It's down under.
Yeah, it's under discussion, so
Yeah.
I didn't have a resolution drafted
Okay.
for it.
Okay.
But what, if we want, if there are enough of us who want to entertain the motion now, that'd be fine. So I say yes.
I'll second it.
Any other, this is from the floor, so we'll need more than just the three of us. Want to entertain it?
No.
Okay. So I'll put that on the agenda for
Okay.
the next month.
And also the discussed was on April 17th is going to be the dinner for the newcomers and at the Hungry Trout. And this year, I'm going to actually ask Michelle at this point to announce the Citizen of the Year, if she would, because that has been
Okay.
acknowledged today. We have got the okay from the acceptance.
The honoree.
Yes. So we're very pleased this year to announce that our Citizen of the Year is Leslie Kopet. And we also have a Lifetime Achievement Award winner, which is Billy Loughran. And like she said, our dinner this year is April the 17th. And I'm waiting on confirmation from the Hungry Trout on what the cost will be. And as soon as I know that, I'll be sending out all of the information, put up the poster, the post office and everything. And we also are going to be able to have online RSVPs this year. So rather than everyone having to call the office or stop by, they'll be able to just log on at their convenience and be able to, with their credit card, pay their RSVPs, and should be very easy and streamlined this year. So be watching for that, the details. And I'm gonna steal one more second just because I have them with me. We also have the solar eclipse glasses came in. So if you want to, you can grab glasses. And we also have the sheets with the QR code that tells you all the viewing locations and activities going on in the area. So stop by the office and grab stuff, and you can also grab them from tonight. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Leslie.
Yeah.
I hope it's well attended. She worked.
We had to wait for approval from both of them before we could announce.
Well, I'm glad I can say something, I guess.
June 1st and 2nd is the Bike List Weekend.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we have the uphill, and then it's gonna be followed by the white base, the Bike Fest. So we're asking for permission to use Preston Field, and for that weekend. And I just need the board approval for the visitors bureau to be able to use, Preston Field for that event,
It's for the weekend of June
1st and 2nd.
1st and 2nd. And this is it's the uphill race.
Yep, and then it's gonna be followed by.
And then there's the big mountain bike race that is
Yep.
100
the visit.
Ks and 50 Ks.
Yes,
June
150. Yep.
June 2nd.
Yep, and that would be Saturday with the registration and picking up their packets, and then Sunday will be the dinner afterwards, the meal.
I was talking to some of the race, I had a meeting today with the race organizers. They have over 200 applicants in for the mountain bike race, starting right now. And then, so I'm going to learn more. I think that they're pretty good at getting the regular permissions needed because the race goes, to Lewis. Actually, I personally can't picture where the race course is, so I've asked them to send me a map. But it's a long and popular event, and they are very adept at talking to the various other towns who are participating in this event, and starts with a shotgun start here, and they would be using the field for vendors. We hope Park Eater Trails Alliance will be there to help introduce themselves to the people who are coming in from out of town and want to come back again to use the Wilmington excellent bike trails that they have. So okay, we could make the motion, but we'll have to do it, get consent from 4 of us to do it. I'm okay with them using it. Do we have,
Second.
do we have any objections?
The only question I have is the facilities use agreement.
Mhm.
That would be filled out in this,
Absolutely.
okay? And
Absolutely.
therefore, the Visitors Bureau insurance would cover the use of the event or the use of the field.
Yeah, what happens is we all exchange insurance certificates with each other.
Yeah.
And you name each other
Each other on the.
as additional insured.
As an additional.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so you have this sort of web of insurance policies out there, and they can discuss who's paying what in the case of some accident.
I can't remember where we're at as far as the bathrooms being renovated.
Well, the bathrooms, we have the toilets are there, the actual toilets that will help out and not clog regularly. They haven't been installed yet. That was something I thought about today during our meeting, so that we could get the bathrooms. They also suggested that we maybe get a porta potty or two lined up because if there are 200 some odd athletes and they, suddenly want to answer the call, it would be helpful. So yeah, those kinds of things we're working on, and I'll probably try to follow up on a timeline when those the new toilets get installed.
My other questions about that are on our agenda for later tonight, so I'll wait. I don't have any problem with the concept, but.
Oh, you mean, so it's on the new business, we can entertain them?
Oh, I just meant as far as like who's paying for the porta potties, who's paying for the cleanup. That's on our agenda tonight to talk about. So.
Okay. So next is the library. The feed you need to read is going to be at the Hungry Trout on May 29th. Wendy attended the last Youth Commission program, and that went very well. They're going to be working together on some programs down at the library. March 30th, Gib Brown's going to be at the library doing a program at 11 a.m. on solar eclipse craft, if anybody has any children that want to attend that. The knitting classes are going very well. They've got a lot going on. The adults are now making that more of like a social coffee hour. April 24th is the next meeting, open to the public. CYC, we recently held our monthly meeting, and we're looking into holding a couple programs down here at our youth center. And Emily Costas, who were family, lived here in town for several years, and her father was a member of our fire department for several years, and in the DEC. She's going to do her senior project on suicide, and she's going to be doing a big program, and she may be also coming down here and possibly speaking with us at one of our meetings. We're looking into doing a program with her that I'm working on. And we're actually looking at any programs like that you have children that need funding. CYC is interested, just let us know if they're looking to do that. And I wanted to follow up with you on the Easter program, anywhere on that.
Okay, apparently we have an Easter bunny event where we take photographs of an Easter bunny, and we have it's held at the youth center. I just learned about it this week, and so we're going to try to, it's a very early Easter this year. I'm hesitating whether I'll put on an Easter bunny outfit, but
Ashton usually does that.
no, good, because there's certain things in dignity, my dignity, I'm trying to
Yeah.
maintain.
Well, we have some volunteers that are willing to jump in and help us from the community.
Please,
If we can get it done, we got some volunteers that are willing to help.
happy to accept volunteers, the amount of meetings, of course, I'll tell you what kind of meetings I've had recently. That these things, I don't know anything about them, so it comes as a surprise to me, and I'll do my best to make things happen and work. So that's that. That'll be probably Palm Sunday is what we would be shooting for with that. So Easter's on the 31st.
So we're looking at March 24th.
That's the 24th. That's correct.
I thought we did it like on Saturday, didn't we? Before? Oh, I thought we
No,
did it on
no,
like
no.
Saturday before Easter.
What time?
The 30th.
You want to do it?
The
I'm open.
Saturday before Easter is when they normally.
That's what I thought.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, sound idea. So I get an extra week. Is anyone have are you okay for the 30th? Okay, that sounds fine to me.
Yep, we can do that.
Great.
We'll make it happen.
All right, good. I like that. Can do. Anything else, Tina?
You look like a bunny. Good deal.
Do you know what
no,
date is,
we're all set.
sorry, what
What's that,
date is
sorry,
Give
sir?
Brown?
Give Brown is going to be on, I got the dates here, my dear. March 30th. He's gonna be March 30th.
What's that?
He's gonna be on the 30th as well.
Big day.
Yeah,
Who is?
Give Brown,
Cool.
solar eclipse. So we can combine it all together and make a day in town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm finding I've been having an awful lot of meetings, in addition to the county meetings and things. The executive director of the APA visited the office for about an hour and a half last week, and then Senator Dan Steck visited for over an hour about a week. The things that we sort of talked about with the APA, maybe it's not my sort of recollection of what they were particularly working on, but it's trying to encourage communities and make certain connections between local supervisors who don't really know where to turn for help for these grants. And so I've been introduced to somebody who I need to reach out with and start working on. We have the New York Restore grant. We have a deadline of notice of intent of March 25th. So if we're going to have that window closes, and then we'll be shut out of the New York Restore grant program. And what that does is it identifies properties that are sort of distressed in the community. It requires a lot of work, though. I mean, this is government forms. They want more details on our intent. And it's hard for small communities where everybody usually has another job, and their town work is kind of, especially, you don't have a large town staff to help. And so my reaching out to these people, being, given contact information with, may help us get some of these grants so we don't miss a deadline necessarily that later on we'll think we should have made. There's another type of grant, and I'm terrible with the name, but that one is like up to $1 million. I just started floating the idea of turning our park up here into sort of a youth to old age kind of community facility. And there are places where it's flat enough. We had this experience where we got an email this winter saying, can you please plow the park lane because my mom would like to walk on something flat without a lot of traffic. And John did it immediately, and we and thanked us for getting it done quickly. But I was thinking about that. My mom is old, and a flat space, types of little exercise equipment, mobility up there. We discussed with John before, and Darren was helping with this in Lord's idea. More of the younger kids. There's playground equipment that is for toddlers, that may be shaded if we need to shade it. And so rather than going about it in a piecemeal kind of way, we do have funds for a pavilion that a donor had left with us, still in the account. UVM is up there. I mean, maybe they would like to participate in some sort of wellness grant to help the town build some of these facilities. So, that's a larger project, but these are just, it's such a beautiful space up there. And if it could be designed and utilized for all ages in the community, would not be a bad thing to do. And if this grant can be used towards those kinds of projects, why don't we try to see if that's something we'd be interested in. Again, that's a lot of work. Next thing is I've been appointed by the county to be on the Roost Board. So I went through my orientation this morning, and I'm going to my first Roost meeting on Thursday. Being appointed as the county official, I don't have a vote. They asked me what committee I might like to be on. I may be on the audit committee, something I just don't know much about. So that should be fine. But I just, from one of the other ideas I put to Senator Steck was whether Wilmington can have a seat on the Order Board. North Alba has 3 slots designated to it, and it's subject to the approval of the governor. And so if it would be possible to amend the bylaws of Order to give Wilmington a seat at that board. Now, of course, Wilmington is, would be 1 seat versus, I mean, when you get into the counting of votes, it doesn't matter. But to me, I think it's a nice gesture to the town because of whiteface. So I'm trying to talk to people about that as well. And let's see, I've Darren brought up to me at the beginning there, and I've talked to Guy about the cemeteries committee. Tried to get back in a group of people who will oversee the care of our cemeteries and make recommendations on maintenance, the road at Hazelton Cemetery and places like that. So that's something, I think it's important in the community that if it wants to keep its cemeteries up, that a group of volunteers working with the town board and the town department's heads involved to help, keep those looking good for people who are loved ones coming back to visit their family. Let's see. Oh, and finally, town cleanup. Can we have a town cleanup day? I need sometime in April. I think that would be nice, and I'll need to, like the Easter Bunny, I need to get out and talk to more people about it. But that's something that I think would be worthwhile. I guess that's my report. Next, unfinished business. Okay, so we're moving on to review of proposed local law number 2. Okay, so I had circulated this before. This was based on what my expectation was. That we talked about putting a cap on the number of permits that can be issued. The other thing we discussed, and so I drafted a local law that basically copied the existing short-term rental law. And instead, I put in a cap that a number of permits shall be issued to a total of 150. And that the town board reserves the right to amend the total number of permits by resolution at a regularly scheduled meeting. So rather than, encasing this in local law so that you'd have to go through the local law process, the town board can start getting inside and regulating regularly what, certain things, the number of permits, how much they want to charge and things like that. Right now, it's inside the law, and it's not easy to amend without amending the local law. So that was what I drafted. And then there was just it. All I did was highlight the 2 additions, and I circulated it. So let's have some discussion about it. Who would like to start?
I agree with capping it. I agree with making a motion to cap it and do it tonight and move it on. I think we need to have it.
Go ahead.
I think we need to have a cap. I think Doug said we haven't had any, the report Doug gave last week, what he gave last month and this month, we're at the same 135.
We can't hear you, I'm sorry.
With the report Doug gave last month and what he gave this month, we were at 135. We haven't had any difference in the number of more permits from last month to this month. We're still at 135. but then he agreed, what he just proposed was 150 cap, and I agree with that. I'm agreeing with the 150 cap and what he put in here.
So the resolution would be, though, that this would be submitted as a subject to review by legal counsel and scheduled for a public hearing. Now, I threw in a date that may not work for everybody, but I'm just trying to keep this moving on at the end of March. But that would be what the resolution is, that we would approve this amendment to the local law, and we'd submit it to a council for an opinion. I think it's legal, but that's good for the town to get their attorney to say it. So, and then we would hold a public hearing on it, and then go from there. So that would be the resolution.
So I don't have a problem with it, but I'm sure Laura's gonna ask if we reviewed hers and if we want to do further amendments before we move this forward, so it only visits the attorney once. Other than that, I don't have a problem with moving forward with your changes to have a public hearing, but I'd like to see what her opinion is.
He said it. I didn't get any feedback from what I submitted to the town
Yeah.
board. So
Well,
I would
understand.
love to know the,
Emailing me things like
right,
that is one
no,
thing.
I totally understand. So
Yeah.
that's why
Okay.
I just wanted, if it's open for discussion, I would like to discuss that if we are going to move forward, because there was quite a bit that isn't actually being done as far as our application process. There was a lot of redundant language. I submitted it and I just wanted to know what you guys all thought. And the flow of it.
I only really got it yesterday, so I really haven't had time to review most of that. That's why I would just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on it, to be honest.
Tina?
I printed it out, I read it, and I read through what you had, I agreed with. She did have, she rewrote a lot of the stuff, took out a lot of redundant. Pretty much still came up with the same exact plan. I didn't see a lot of difference in things. Just really, if the flow of the read of it was a lot.
I don't think you really added anything
I
else.
did not.
No, she did not add
Yeah,
anything.
I looked over quickly,
The
but
only thing, I think it was just the septic part.
Yes,
The
excuse
septic
me, I
part
added in
was-
his
the
addendum
septic
and
part
the
was
subject.
Yep,
That it
the
was,
septic part, I was just gonna bring it up on my phone if I could.
had to be up to code with the Department of Health, as is in our code, as was referenced at one of the other meetings. But I think it's a little cleaner, but that's certainly open to interpretation, everybody's opinion. But I also made sure that what was written on the application requirements followed what was part of our application, whereas before it didn't have exactly what was required on our application. And it had a lot of things that aren't addressed in other areas. So I think if we're going to go forward with this, we really should try to get a cleaner document, something that actually applies to the application that is there, and add in the things like you had. I mean, the septic system was a huge portion of our discussion, but what you kept saying was that we're up to code. It has to be up to code because, and that wasn't in either of the in the prior version, the one that's actually a BOC currently. And I just wanted feedback.
Does your draft include the language that
Yes,
I put in?
yes.
So the idea is that we take your draft and send that to the attorney. No, I'm just encapsulating, right? That's what we would do. We would resolve that we take that draft and submit it to our attorney, and that would be the one we send out for local law.
It is totally up to you guys. I did not take, I took out things that were redundant or not applicable, and it would have to be reviewed. I sent all of the revisions in the other document.
Yep.
But that is for the board's approval, and I was just trying to meld the two into something that was cleaner.
I mean, I did look it over quickly. Like I said, I haven't had time to further really review and look at the flow of everything. Although I didn't see anything, I would like more than one day to review it. So I would be happy to move forward with Laura's code upon review, but I just would like more than one day to review it, that's all.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm pushing to the extent that, I'd certainly like to get the cap in place sooner. We approved 3 sets of minutes for the month of February. We can have another couple meetings if you want to keep moving on this. We can call a special meeting. We could send yours out, simultaneously while we're looking at it to the attorney for an opinion. Why don't we do that? And then we'll try to schedule a
Send
meeting.
them,
What's that?
send them both.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll send them out and then we can look at them and while they get back to us. And then we'll have to schedule the meeting properly. And it'll be a public hearing. But no, we have to have a resolution. Dear.
You have to have a resolution, we have to put it in the
Yes.
newspaper. So March 27th isn't gonna work.
No, that's right. Okay. We'll do our best.
I appreciate you taking time to look it over and
I think you did a good job on it. I mean,
Okay.
you can see you definitely
Yeah.
put a lot of effort in it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I just hope that we can all, it's already been a law. Everybody, this was approved, it went through the attorneys and there were still errors and it's not to say mine is without errors. So, there's certainly, things are open to feedback and I just would like to go in that direction if possible.
Okay, so
Can we just put it on the agenda for our work session to review hers and then,
yes, but in the meantime, let's save time by sending it out to the attorney.
I'm fine with that.
That's all right?
But not schedule a public hearing.
No, we can't. We'll have to,
Okay.
we'll have our work session at the end of the month.
Okay.
And then we'll do it then.
I need names for moving it. You send it to the attorney.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll make, somebody make
Favor, how did you come up with the number 150?
arbitrary,
Cap number.
purely arbitrary. I mean, we went through the formula. I actually wrote a draft where it would be a percentage of the total number of homes per the New York, Essex County real property offices where we set it at 20%. And that number is just a lot bigger than 150.
Actually, it's not 20% was 151. It was 25% that was much bigger because that's what when we originally were talking about different numbers and the short-term rental committee said, we don't think it should exceed 25% and that was 180. And we thought that that was way too much. So we said, well, let's back it down to 20% and that's approximately where the 150 was.
And rather, it's just a number, which is nice. You can get into all sorts of discussions about the number of things and what you're going to ask the town boards going forward to review these things regularly. And then they'll get into a discussion and say, well, that's not right. It's a number.
I do feel bad that all of the work that the short-term rental committee put forth. I mean, the meeting that we had, it was unfortunate and it was a huge undertaking by them. And I don't know what, it's just like I feel bad about the whole situation. And they did so much work. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I really do.
Are there things, I'm not sure that it's proper to ask Pat as the chair of the committee, but are there things from your recommendations that you think are particularly important for us to have in our STR law?
We're totally open to compromise. We just feel slighted that nobody told us anything about this. That the work session you had, we weren't even invited, we just showed up.
Okay, so favor move this resolution. I need a second.
I still, there are other, sorry, Donna, there are other aspects of this that
You're not ready to do that. Send it to the lawyer. Laura's and his.
I would like it if our permits were done annually rather than biannually.
But he's having it in there. There's language in his amendment that we can change that anytime. And Laura can testify to that.
It's in there,
I know that. I know
yeah,
that.
but not the 1 year.
Well, it says that we can change both permit fees and length of
And the
permits at
language.
any time.
So you can get going on this and still change it if you want.
Once this gets passed, then we can change it in April, or we can change it in, June, but we have to get this part passed.
The only other thing to bring up is, and I know that probably no one has looked at the stuff I sent around either, and that's totally fine. Their legislative intent and purpose language from the town of Canadas,
Mhm.
I think is better.
I printed all 40 pages.
Thanks.
Me too.
I printed everything you
I
said,
boiled it down to like 15 or 18.
and I read it.
Thank you.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I think they're a level up better than ours. That's all. But we're gonna, we're trying to get past, the idea that somehow or other the town will be suddenly a much larger percentage of short-term rentals than they want. Right? It works so far. There are a lot of players involved. And I think this would solve the immediate issue of short-term rental overrun. And it gives them a chance to get in and regulate as it sees fit. But the way in which the Canandaigua, what's the name of it?
I think it's Canada.
The
town of,
cannabis.
Like,
Cannabis. That's the next committee we have.
I looked into it. It's a Native American word. It's a town in the Finger Lakes of about 1,500 people.
Yeah, but that had much more of a zoning feel, which has sort of been the way I prefer. I think the zoning is as opposed to just sort of a regulation and permitting process. But see, and that also had the provision whereby if the code enforcement officer's decision didn't necessarily please the applicant, they could go in front of a review board. And we didn't do that here. Right, which was one.
We don't have they don't have to.
Yeah, but it's been my view that anytime somebody falls under the cap and it becomes an arbitrary thing and they don't get to put forward a request to have it reviewed under a hardship. That's always been something I've been interested in. And we compromise, I would compromise on that because I think the ultimate solution right now is to get the cap in place. That's, and then move forward. So we get the cap in place, then we can come back and look at the other things that we may have omitted.
Does anyone support a cap of 140?
We're negotiating.
150 is really high for a town the size of Wilmington.
Well, I have to think as the rest of us have kind of come around pretty good because we were originally talking at 25%. Now we're all the way down at 20%. So
20% is still high. For a
no,
small
but
town.
before you were all for 25% when you thought the number was 135.
I don't think I said that. I think I probably said that the cap should be 135.
All right, well, in any event, the motion is the proposed sending out the draft local laws, Laura's version, along with Favor's version, to the attorney for legal review and opinion. And then we'll be putting it back on the work session where we can have, I'm sure, further discussion on what it actually, what that actual number is. But in the meantime, we're trying to move this to get it to an attorney and get to the work session.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? We just had our discussion.
The only other point that I think is important to make is simply that in the handout from the Association of Towns, they say at least 4 times that it's important to say in our law that an STR permit is a privilege, not a right, to survive possible eventual court challenges. They say it, it's in here 8 times. So I think that is important for me to bring that up.
Okay.
And we should really consider putting that somewhere in our law.
Any further discussion?
From us?
No, not from, it's us.
Or from you?
Would that be something that
No, it's us. What's it?
would that language that he's referring to, if that is found to be something beneficial for the town to prevent them having any retribution back on them, would that be something that the board would be willing for me to add to that amended version? Or would you?
I'll be honest, let's ask our legal counsel.
Okay.
And we can, at our work session, when we have further discussion, that's where we could act or add or take away things.
I just think attorneys throw that in all the time. They'll say, oh, it's a privilege. It's not a right, because everyone always says it's a right. And suddenly you're entitled to more respect from the law. Driving is a privilege, everybody.
I mean, because along
That's
those
not
same
right.
things, Favor just said that, he would like to see, being able to go to some type of review committee for special circumstances. That's something we could also add, so.
No, I'm not gonna.
I mean, if we're gonna do it, I really feel like we should try to get as much.
I agree.
We could do the quiet hours and the campfire smoke too.
Well, okay, but we have to get the cap in, guys. I mean, we sit here having a discussion, we're gonna have another writing session for another month and a half, and we won't have taken action on the cap.
Hey, can we go to vote so we can move forward?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's, all in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm very conflicted. I'll vote for it.
Carried. Excellent. Thank you so much. What's next? Oh, yes. So the resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute an amended ambulance agreement with Orla. Orla has basically just extended the time. Often our ambulance agreements run from December towards the ends of March. Because of the eclipse this year, they've asked if we can extend it to April 8th so that we could provide an ambulance and some help at the mountain when they expect to have lots of people there. So that's what they asked me to do, and I've already executed the first agreement based on the resolution, but they just want to amend it to extend the time. Is there a motion authorizing me to sign that agreement? Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is this just for this year, right? To the extending?
Yeah, until,
Okay.
it terminates on April 14th instead of March 20-something. That's all. But everything else is the same. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, new business. Okay, discussions, appointments to the planning board. Now, Tim, you had introduced, in your report, nominating Randy and getting him on the planning board.
That's correct. I believe we should do that. And I've said what I have to say about it.
Okay. I have been at sort of a dilemma. We've received 13 applications from community members interested in serving on a planning board and or a zoning board of appeals. I have not figured out how we're supposed to meet and review all these interested people without having it be a public meeting. I still haven't figured out how we're supposed to do that. But it seems to me that the process certainly would be fairer to the other people who've thrown their hat in the ring as well, and taken the time to write and express an interest, and certainly would like to give everyone a shot. What we were facing at the end of March was a planning board that didn't have a quorum, with the KOA application coming in, and KOA has been closed for so long, and they needed to be in front of the planning board so they could send out their contracts to their contractors to redo the whole septic system on the uphill one and the septic system down in the motel. And so we didn't have a quorum, and we wouldn't have enough people to actually listen to the thing. And so Pat had served an awful long time and applied last year for a position. And we just following a sort of an exigent circumstance to to make the appointment. I certainly would like to fill as many of these seats, and including, as, everyone who's applied. And I just don't know how we're supposed to meet these people and approve. Does anybody have any ideas how to do it? Without having a public meeting? Because, we all talk to them, and it's not necessarily,
Go ahead, go ahead, you're on board. All in favor after.
I don't think it's the end of the world if it's a public meeting. Our work sessions, there's usually like 3 people there. If there are 3 people there who are interested in listening to us interview them, I think that's okay.
do we interview with them?
That's what we did last time.
Did we do it in a public meeting?
It was not in a public meeting.
Yeah, see, here's why I'm at the dilemma. I mean, I'm following the law.
I'm saying it's
They
not the,
appointed a committee, and there was only, you stayed underneath quorum. There were 2 and somebody from the planning board that sat on the thing
All right,
and reviewed the people.
why don't we do that? Who wants to start helping out with
I
that?
believe last time we actually did it, though, wasn't it? Weren't we in executive session when we had interviews? Michelle was out there and Tina at the time, and you were there, Tim. We had an
Yes.
executive session to do the interviews. So based on that, I would recommend that we would go with the people that we've already interviewed, which were Pat as of 1, Jim, which is already on the board 2, and Tim Preston was the 3rd that we interviewed. And if he was still interested, I would move to appoint Tim, since we've already interviewed him and know that he was qualified for the position, because that's already been through the process. Was there?
I don't know who they were. I just
Was
want
it
the
Mike
process to
Coleman?
be.
Oh, yeah,
Mike
Mike
Coleman.
Bowman. But he
Yeah,
was happy to do something else at the
I'm
time.
just letting you know.
But you're right.
I just want the process to be fair. We have a number of people who've written to me, and I want to give everyone a shot at this. It's not, it's a commitment that the planning board members and members of committees make. And so if we could do it by an executive type of deal or go to executive, but we'd have to contact these people and say, can you come visit us on a certain date? Is that what you like to say?
That works, yeah.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
You had stated that because we have all this interest, that we should look into doing the planning board and the zoning board of appeals. If that's something that we are still thinking of moving forward with, the people that are currently in seats on the board, we should give them the opportunity to choose if they want to be on the planning board or the zoning board of appeals, because there were people who submitted requests for a certain board. There was people who wanted to be on the planning board, some people didn't want to be on anything.
Yep.
So it's silly for us to interview them for a position that wouldn't necessarily be open if the planning board people all wanted to stay on the planning board. Maybe we would only have, if we did go in the 2 different directions, which I really think that we should.
Yeah, I agree.
You still have alternates to fill though. You've got 2 more seats for alternates that you have to fill.
But I'm saying if we had even more seats open for alternates, if we decided to do the 2 different boards, then it would be silly for us to put people in the wrong position that wasn't going to be vacated. Or
Yeah, if they have, if they have a preference for, I really love the planning board. I can't see myself as the zoning board of appeal. Then, obviously we have to weigh that. And then they have the people who are happy to be on either board. Or someone wants to be on the zoning board of appeals. But I agree with you that if there's somebody on the planning board who'd like to move over to the zoning board of appeals, I think it would be, if you're saying it give that person that option, it would be fine. Fine. So I guess what we should do, what's the day, Tuesday? Why don't we, I'll send out an email, we'll try to organize who it is, what dates we can do, and we'll craft a reply from the board to each of the applicants, so it isn't just from me. I'll share it with you. You say we like this, or we don't like that. And I'll send it out saying the board cordially invites you to come have a chat with us.
And then we could ask them which board that they'd like to be on,
Yeah,
if we
things like
did,
that, yeah.
if we did.
Yeah.
And then we could make a decision. And the zoning board, or the planning and zoning board meets the beginning of next month, so we could, have some applicants' ideas at the time, but they should definitely be involved in it.
Fine, that sounds good. Any further discussion about the planning board? You mentioned pay. You wanna
It's an option. I mean,
Yes.
can I just,
Go ahead.
one of my first editors as a journalist said, if you pay lousy wages, you get lousy writers. It's volunteer. They put in a lot of time. We have in the past had trouble attracting enough volunteers. I have no problem with paying them. It's an idea that's been brought up at this board before. I don't think it's imperative. As we look to increase the fees, if we're going to pay the members of the board, that could factor into the fees that people are charged when they submit applications. I think it would be appropriate. I'm not adamant that we have to.
I'm not aware of any, except apart from New York City. Lake Placid has, they meet twice a month, their planning board, and they've got a heck of a lot more applications pending, and they're volunteer. The town pays for all their educational stuff and things like that, but if you have a counter example from somewhere, just let me know.
And I would just think that at this point, if we have 5 members already and we have 13 more interested, we have 18 members interested in serving on these committees. Obviously, we have a pretty big group right now. I don't know why we would.
And none of them are lousy citizens.
Right. I don't know why we'd want to.
Lousy writers, I just had to say that because it's gonna eat at me otherwise. They're all great individuals.
I
To
don't
donate
think
their
he
time to
meant,
the
I don't
town.
think he meant
I
that.
know.
Yeah, I wasn't
But I
saying
had to say
anyone was
that.
lousy.
That's all right.
There's no lousier wage than $0.
So listen, but we also have the Board of Assessment Review, could use another person. There's gonna be a committee for the cemeteries, I hope. There's gonna be apparently the cannabis committee needs to, I don't know, we have a list of people, maybe they're still interested, they would have the priority. But there are other ways, but I certainly think that if the town could manage to field a group of people who are committed to, applying zoning, learning zoning, listening to, going to hearings, going to site visits, from 2 sets of boards, that would be great for the town. Instead of what happened, like you said, it just sort of dwindled, it ran out of gas at some point, and they were struggling to find people to fill one board. Okay, let's see now. We're moving on to social media policy. All right, what would you like to talk about that?
I was confused previously. I can't read this now. I was confused because I had thought it was managed by the town clerk, but that was never the case. I guess it was managed by Roy and Michelle previously. I noticed this because I kept seeing posts about the concert, but our agendas were not being posted. So what is going on here?
Okay.
So I think maybe that should be controlled by the board and we can all post on there. The public has confidence in us. We've been elected to represent the public. I think we're all mature enough or responsible enough to limit our posts to official town business.
Yeah, I am not I'm not that expert in whether Facebook is really a good way of posting your agendas anyway. And I would prefer probably to be a little more conservative about making sure that we post them on our website properly and around town, and if it needs to be a legal notice in the paper. Facebook, Michelle said something, did you leave it in our boxes? Yeah, giving us sort of an overview of the history. It was started by Meg Parker, sort of as a J Community News apparatus, and Randy got involved in it, and it just sort of it turned into part town, part visitors bureau, public interest kind of things. Lost dogs. That's okay. I don't know if you're reading my supervisor's reports, but I'm really not quite sure. I'll be like reporting what the heck I've been doing, what's coming up. where, I go and have lunch at the Methodist Church on Tuesdays, once a month. Things like that. But I don't really want to dwell too much on those kinds of things because I just think that, that's me out there doing it. It's not town business. So we don't have a policy. And maybe we should look at one eventually. Maybe we'll want to have our own Facebook social media policy. I know New York City's got their own social media policy. But by and large, I haven't really thought about it hard, and I've just tried to keep my own reports to a minimum.
I think the name is misleading. It looks very government official-like, and I feel like I, as a citizen, wouldn't have known that it's not run by the town.
What's the name of it?
Town of Wilmington.
Oh, well, there you go.
Wilmington People Town, that's what it was.
No,
That's what the original one was. Oh,
Which sounds much less official than Town of Wilmington.
it is Town of Wilmington.
Well, sorry.
It's a community page, but it also could mean that it's the community of Wilmington. It links to the townofwilmington.org website. I think it's very official looking, and that's why I also assumed that it was Wilmington business, town business.
I guess I'm failing to see the issue. I mean, it's still promoting events in Wilmington, and maybe it's not always on there, the agenda. Maybe it is. Maybe it's Favor being new and dropping the ball. I mean, not to say like Favor's doing anything wrong, but Roy always put it on there. So I guess I'm failing to see the problem with the Facebook page if it's still getting information out to Wilmington. Occasionally, there may not be the information that you want there, and maybe at that point you say, "Hey, Favor, that hasn't been done yet. Can you put that out there before the meeting?" I guess I'm failing to see where the disconnect or the real problem is.
Definitely is not a huge problem. It does seem like an official town page, and therefore
Well, it is run by the town of Wilmington.
then it should be run by the Town of Wilmington.
Favor is posting on it.
Okay, as
Not well, apparently.
I guess
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This is not something I'm jumping out of my seat to become awfully better at. So why don't we discuss what the heck our social media policy should look like, and what gets posted, and what should be avoided on our social media page.
I think it would be handy to have the agendas on there because it has 2.8 thousand people on it.
Right.
And I think it would be handy, but I mean, if it's not run by the town and it's not part of what's legally required, I understand why it wouldn't be, but I'm saying as a functionality of the town, I think it's a useful tool to have in our arsenal.
Unfortunately, a lot of people get their information from there these days, more so than the other
Going to the
places.
website or
Yeah,
going.
that's right. Yep.
And some people don't get out to the little supermarket to see it next to the door, which I only actually just recently noticed.
you just
So,
noticed that's there.
Yeah,
It's
so,
been there a long time.
yeah, I know, I'm not very observant sometimes.
Association of Towns, when I went last year, suggested that all towns have a policy if they have a Facebook. A lot of town clerks have their own sites. You as board members could have your own. It's just you have to follow the rules of the state, and there's a lot of rules to it when you start getting a lot of people putting this stuff on. I probably have in my file in there the paper from the class I took.
I took it this year.
You took it this year?
There's a lot
You've
to
got
it.
the new ones. And they were just starting to work this stuff out last year when I was there. There was a lot to it. They said there's a lot more coming, and you really have to be careful, especially if you have a lot of people posting, which they suggest you don't have. That way it gives control.
I hesitated to bring that up, but they did say that at the conference, that they recommend that we don't allow comments because at other towns, it's become such a problem. It hasn't in Wilmington so far. It wasn't so great for me to see my name being dragged through the mud in the months coming up to the election. But for no one else has it been a problem. But it has been a problem in other towns, and it's probably only a matter of time until it becomes a problem for other Wilmington residents.
I didn't think I saw your name dragging mud on that at all.
That's all right, that's all right.
That's what I saw.
If I remember right,
It's
and I
not,
don't
it's
know
not
the-
it's not a general discussion. Why don't we have somebody, take a look at it? Right now, I'm happy to be sort of the point person you can be. You can sort of, take some solace in the fact that I'm not in a hurry to post everything on it, that I can. So it's gonna be limited. And in fact, I'll omit to put things on, because that's just what will happen. But if there should be one that the town wants to run and just identify what it is that the town thinks should be posted by whom, and have a policy, maybe no comments, things like that.
Well,
I'm fine if,
To back up to do that, I mean, again, one of the things that was in that class was, you might have even been in that class, I can't
no, I took
remember.
nothing but accounting.
But it said, you have to be really careful, and this one says Town of Wilmington Community Page, which is just community events. Where if it was a Town of Wilmington government page, that's completely different. Then you have to be posting strictly government business on it. So that was one of the big things that came out of the classes that I took.
If I remember right, last year they told us to try to avoid having the town Facebook page.
Because there's too many liabilities on it.
Don't have one. We do not have a town page.
Well,
I mean, the name can be anything. I mean, I can start a page that says Town of Wilmington and nobody can do anything about it, so.
I just think it's a little misleading.
I literally always thought that was the
I-
official town page
100%.
that Dawn was posting on. So,
Well, only a website. David, for clarity, can I just, the public probably doesn't really know, can I read what the explanation was that I gave to the board?
sure, please.
In 2009, town resident Meg Parker came up with the idea to create a community Facebook page to help keep residents informed of things going on and around town. This was designed to much like the J Community News. The name of the page was Wilmington People Town. Meg gave Randy, then the supervisor, the administrative rights to the account so he could add anything he wished to the page. After a while, Meg decided that she wasn't posting much on it and felt that it was best for Randy to continue doing it. And between the two of them, they decided to add me as another admin to the account, since I am in the position to know many of the things going on in and around town. After Randy's death, I offered the rights to Roy as a courtesy. He asked me my thoughts on changing the name of the account to Town of Wilmington so it was easier for people to find. I agreed. It, however, remains a community page, not a government page, and it is still labeled as such. When Roy retired, he asked me to remove him from the account since he had enough going on with his own accounts. I then, out of courtesy, added favor since the public had grown accustomed to getting weekly updates from the supervisor's desk, and I think that this is a great way for news to get out fast when there is a great need. I'm willing to see Facebook can be a little quirky depending on how many times the name has been changed. I'm willing to try to go in and see if I can add the word community, Town of Wilmington Community. If it will let me, I will try to change the name. And then,
Well, can we, why don't you, hold off on that till we have decided what we're gonna do, as a board with, whether we're gonna be on Facebook and how, our own set of rules.
okay,
you mind?
but it's not the town board's
No, I
page.
understand, I
It's not
understand.
your page to
But,
do it.
maybe the town will say, maybe the board will say, well, what the heck? You disable the comments and, move forward.
But it's not the town board's say, is what I'm saying.
Okay, then we'll take us off if you wanna do that. Go right ahead. I'm not interested too much in, if we have to set up our own Facebook page, that's fine.
I just think that it's a disservice to the town by taking us off, because things are getting to the community.
I know, but-
Now we're taking things away because we're bickering over stuff that really doesn't have a detriment to town one way or another. It feels like we're going backwards.
I understand, but if the attitude is that it's not the town's page, then that's right, and the town,
I know, but it's just to the point where it's more, I'm gonna be very blunt about it because people know the way I am. If people are bitching and whining and crying again, and now we're doing a disservice to the town because people are bitching, whining, and crying. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
On your own personal Facebook page.
All right.
People.
Okay, that's the end of that.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
I think probably, sorry, never mind.
Yeah, we're finished. Thank you,
Move
Tim.
on from that.
Town sponsorship of the Music Fest was another discussion, but I think we've discussed that before, and we'll follow up at the work session. Then we want to have any more on your bike proposal? That's still on the discussion list. Do you want to talk some more about
I
that?
would like to know if we're moving forward or if it's dead in the water.
So what sort of contract is it?
1 year.
1 year, and does it have, is it one of those internet kind of contracts, which is like one page or something like that?
The contract?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the contract. I got the quote and I sent you the liability, the bike, what the bike options were,
Okay,
that there's branding, that they're offering the discount until March 7th or 15th.
okay.
It's
Yeah, so why don't
the
you,
quote that I gave you included all of the price as it would be without the discount.
yeah, so the special, the major terms of any contract are the price and the terms and stuff like that.
Right, so we would purchase the bikes. I spoke with the Parks Department. They would install the concrete slab wherever that it is requested by the town, wherever that they would like it. I checked into the liabilities because that was a question. I gave you their sample liability waiver as
Mhm.
well as the helmet law for New York State. I included that. We do not need to include helmets because the people renting the bikes would have to have a credit card and would be at that age and also be signing off on the waiver. If we wanted to have helmets as like a, good, faith, have them there, then that's fine. But it's not mandated based upon the waiver. The location is up for whatever anybody would want. And I think I answered all the questions that were asked of me.
So the next step would be the board would give you a resolution to proceed to the next phase, but we haven't seen a contract.
There's just the quote.
It's just a quote, I understand. But,
Right.
They may come in and say that all disputes have to be handled in Arizona. I mean, they throw in whatever sort of contract, if there's a dispute between us, it shows up and, all the internet stuff. You have to go to Alameda County, California to have any kind of dispute. I just feel that, the town, could authorize you to go forward with the quote and go to contract. But we can't necessarily, we'd have to do the resolution after we get the contract, the full resolution.
And how's the credit card run?
Through the app.
Oh, that's a good question.
And where's the money come into?
Nobody puts them, there's no money, there's no changing of hands of money. It's a hold on the credit card as an authorized user of the bike.
But if something happens,
Then
then
that's
where's
the
the
way.
money come into and how do you collect? Like if the bike doesn't come back or something and you
It's
have a
trackable,
dispute.
it's a trackable bike. It's got its own beacon or honing thing on it. You could see it on the app. I don't know
think
how
what
many more
she's asking
questions
is
I
if-
can answer.
Like if the bike comes back damaged,
And we have to charge.
How do
something.
we-
How do we get our money? How's that?
who's gonna evaluate the bike to know how much damage and how much to charge them and everything else?
I gave you information on a bike company locally at a Saranac Lake that would come and service the bikes. I gave you the prices of what that they would offer.
That's
I-
to service them.
Right.
If one
Or
comes back damaged,
We could
who's-
ask them to come take a look at it. It's just as if, honestly, this is
But
fine.
if.
I've put hours and hours and hours and hours into this, so
And I understand that, but if
yeah.
we're renting them down at the beach. and
It's
a
not,
bike-
we're not renting them. They're-
Somebody comes and picks someone up, it comes back damaged. Who's going to be there to look at that if our guys are
Nobody.
gone or something?
Nobody.
So how are we gonna know that happened?
The bike will be placed in the thing, and then I'm sure that John was very helpful. He said that he would facilitate things as we needed it. I can't answer any more of the liability questions. I've given you all the information.
I know we had this question come up last year. There was a local resident that wanted to rent canoes and the town was renting canoes and there's other local businesses that rent bikes. Are we going to be taking away from local businesses by giving away free bikes when there's businesses trying to rent bikes? Because I know that's going to be an issue. There's possibly one going to be opening here in town that I've heard of. And I don't know if it's a good idea for the town to be doing that if we're trying to promote businesses of opening in Wilmington and now giving away bikes for free if people are trying to make a living.
Why don't we make a motion to accept, to move forward or not move forward, and then we can be done with it. Or proceed.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm trying to figure out, and going back to my,
I have one thought, which is that I suspect that most of the bikes people would want to rent would be mountain bikes or very good road bikes, and these will be neither. These will be really like functional utilitarian road bike, high cruising. I think 5 medium grade bikes for free is a great amenity for the town to have. That's the amount that it would impede someone's business, I think is slight.
so yeah, I'm still going through my head, how to make these guys happy with their deadline on the price.
There's no, that was the
Oh.
discount.
Oh.
The quote is forever. The discount that I sent to you was the amount that they're willing to discount it, $150 off of each bike purchase up until that point, and free branding. As I said in the email, there's also the point of a person to be the administrator of the app and delegating that. And
Who's that person?
right, that's what this is where,
Oh,
that's what
one of us?
I don't, no, I didn't say it was one of us. I gave you options. It's okay. I think this is dead in the water, and I'm okay with that. You guys can.
Well, I like the idea. I'm always thinking about the logistics. We're signing a contract with the municipality. They got to expect it. When they're going to get their money, it's going to be next month. When we have another meeting, that's the way these things sort of work. So if we can lock them in with the discount in some way, and then finish it up next month, that would be fine with me. That's all I'm thinking about. It's not.
Well, I can't answer your question as far as contracts in Arizona, and I can't. I don't know who would be the administrator on it. It was a couple minutes a day or a couple minutes a week, and there's a setup. So
John doesn't want to be.
no,
Okay.
I didn't ask him, but somebody did, right? Yeah.
I did.
Can you find out who processes the credit card?
It's through the app,
Yeah, and I understand it's
right?
through the app, but there has to be somebody on the other end, like we have Municipay and All Paid.
It's
There's the one Jim
Yeah.
uses Square.
right. I would assume it's a square thing, but anyway, you would type in your information in the app. It's 2 QR codes on the station for the bikes, and it would launch an app on your phone, and that would enter. You would go through the waiver, and you would do that kind of thing.
And where will the bikes be put?
We have, there was
That
no,
was also up for discussion.
yeah, that was not decided.
Because I think we need to decide where we're gonna put it, where we're gonna put the slab, so we know before we even make a decision. We should decide that. So we know who's gonna watch them, who's going to be able to check them.
Yeah, okay. I'm starting to see this is
Right.
getting mired in detail.
I answered, I did answer all of those questions in the email, and I can't put any more effort into it, to
And
be
I
honest.
understand, but we still have to be responsible for we have to have responsibility for stuff that we have on our town property.
And I talked to John about the insurances, and that there are insurances that would cover this. And I think I talked to Favor about an umbrella policy.
Mhm.
Okay, so
It's okay.
nobody's talked to us about it, and we're asking the question.
Okay,
So
so that's our discussion on that. And we'll try to get you some answers, Tina, to those. But, you know, as again, I think the idea of, I don't think it's, I think it's nice for the town to offer those kinds of amenities for people who are visiting. You know, and if it gets trashed after 1 year, you know, we're gonna have to have some sort of, you know, the insurance can cover those things. It's just you identify them as now town property. But anyway, we'll try to.
My concern is security breach with the town.
Well, it's all right, Don. We don't.
Okay.
We don't need to go into too many more
I
concerns.
think Laura feels that she's put a lot of time and effort into this and has provided answers to these questions, and there's just,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, and she doesn't want to continue.
Keep on this. Okay, so now Tim had asked a question, and I put it on for discussion about how to start allocating town expenses to be paid for with the share that Wilmington gets of its 2% bed tax money. So, for example, we're hosting an event, and Wilmington is, you know, let's say the music fest is being hosted in the Wilmington, or a festival of colors, or some events being taken place here, and the Wilmington Parks Department are asked and do supply help, labor, trips to pick up, you know, straw, things like that. And so those expenses are normally have been charged against the general fund. So Tim's question is, how could we get those to be paid, use the bed tax extra funds that we get? I think what we're going to ask our Parks Department to do this year, I think they are by and large chargeable against those community enhancement funds. I don't think regular wages are. I think regular wages are, strictly speaking, the sole responsibility of the town and its general fund. But overtime, mileage, extra, you know, wear and tear on stuff can be calculated. So this year, what we're hoping to do is create an actual log of you know, hours that they're working, days times hours, and if it goes into overtime, then we calculate those costs, and we could you know, help charge those against the bed tax money. The one of the things, I mean, is right now we have a budget. The budget is the legal document, is what we're spending this year. And it isn't, I'm having trouble getting used to this myself, but I'm so used to being able to make a purchase decision on my own and say, well, there's the funds, here I go. So the way in which these sort of have to happen is we have to amend the budget properly. So once we know the number, we'll amend the budget, and then we'll say, okay, we're taking from Fund A, we're applying it over here to this. So we're taking it from this fund as a revenue, and we're going against this expense. We're going to amend the budget. We can do that. But so right now we have $20,000, for example, in a particular budget item, and it turns out that, you know, it shows up that it's really a big cost overrun. It's not going to be $30,000. But we'd like to use the bed tax money to help pay that $30,000. We have to, as a board, amend it, identify which fund it's going from and which fund it's going to. It's tedious, generally speaking, to look and read through these things. So what first thing we're going to try to do is get all the information we can about the actual hours. Okay? And then we have to budget it. Change the budget, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I would think we would have that information from this current year if we're only talking about overtime, because there are logs of their overtime. I'm not this current year, I'm sorry, 2023.
Yeah.
So that should all be accounted for.
Yeah, but their timesheets for the Parks Department are not as detailed and give you the information about what they were doing as you may suspect.
No, but I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But we know when the events are, and if they're working overtime, those weeks. They're working overtime for the event.
I'll be honest with you, I've been getting a chance to review their time sheets every 2 weeks. John goes, on weekends, something goes wrong with the ice rink and that's not chargeable. And it's not described to me that it is for this event or it's for an actual town-specific kind of extra hours kind of deal. I'm hoping we have that information as we go forward. We're going to start having events soon. And we'll have these pieces of paper and then we'll know and we'll be able to calculate that stuff. And also, the 2023 budget is in the past. We're in the 2024 budget. So we can only.
I'm just saying, if we need the information, if we need to know, we should have a very good idea of.
Yeah, but why would we be making a budget change amendment to the budget now without the details? It's not specific enough.
Moving forward, we should have it itemized.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And they'll be happy to do it. It'll be signed by the, let's say we have the mountain bike race coming up. And, parts of it, we're going to be working a little overtime to set up the field or whatever. They'll keep track of that time. It'll be signed by the people working there and by the extra person. And we have a record of it. And we can calculate that stuff.
I assume that who's paying for the porta potties for the mountain bike?
Haven't discussed that yet.
I brought it up.
Fine, we'll be having plenty of discussions about how that gets paid for. But it's, it's still, if it's not built into this year's budget, how it gets paid for will be through a budget amendment. That's what's going to happen. So that's sort of my explanation. It just isn't so easy to write a check and say, okay, we're going to cover it because we got some money over here.
I think having the separate coding for Nicole will be helpful. And also, it says in the Essex County office, the occupancy tax revenue, it says municipalities will be required to complete an annual report of these expenditures. The report will require an accounting of actual dollars spent, so that would help streamline that process.
Totally.
And activities that were supported with the dollars, so.
Yeah, no,
That's handy.
it's really tedious stuff.
Yeah.
But, we're getting, you get looked at and reviewed. And, it provides a certain comfort for the town. You say, oh, okay. So that's that. Any other discussion on that? Can I go on to the?
Just the other, there are other ancillary expenses in addition to wages, so it would be good. It would be ideal if, related to the events, so it would be ideal if the bed tax money could pay for those expenses as well.
Hey, for example, the bike program, seems to me that's a bed tax one.
I'm talking about like garbage or cleanup after an event.
Yeah, that's right.
You're
Yeah, but if it's regular time, it's regular time, and they're going to get paid the regular time for something. If it's an extra expense.
I wasn't talking about labor though, it's not that important, so we don't need to.
Well, what are the expenses to the town for garbage pickup? Labor?
I think the actual.
The fee to the town.
Yeah, that's like charging.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, so we have a few agreements. Now, I'm sorry I didn't get to, I left a copy in the board folder, but I didn't mention it to anybody. I have a special legal agreement with Mark Shackner, and he would be retained as special legal counsel for this year. He charges $260 an hour. He would be called on. We are going to have a bond. We have to convert a bond this year for the dam project. There are going to be things that I probably, Mr. Shackner has been a long time presenter at the New York Association of Towns and things like this on zoning, all these issues. And he would be the person that we would agree we need to send a specific problem to that came up requiring a specialized, long-time experienced attorney. He is attorney right now for the town of North Elba and for the town of Scroon. And I've spoken to him a couple times, but we would not engage him until we have a very special legal question. And I have an agreement somewhere in here, but I can't put my hand on it. I see. So the resolution would be that it would give me authority to execute that agreement.
It's on the slicer.
Oh, okay.
In an envelope. You want me to
It's
grab
in,
it?
it's in the other room. Yes, in room one. Thank you.
So anyone,
Hold on.
this is not a controversial statement.
No, but it's not the time. We're trying to make, we're in the middle of making a resolution motion.
It's actually a timeout right now.
No,
So
we have a quorum. We're still here. Thank you. So here it is. It's a legal services agreement between the town of Wilmington, Miller, Mannix, Schachner, and Hafner. Scope of services, legal services as requested by supervisor and other authorized personnel. Representation by amount of time spent, $260. They're going to maintain the professional liability insurance and they don't discriminate. So I'm going to have a motion to accept that.
I'll make it.
A second. I'll second. Any discussion?
talked to Attorney Kennelly on Sunday. I take it you have not spoken with him.
That's correct. After our last meeting, I'm not in a particular hurry to discuss these things. All in favor, please.
He would give the town a much better deal.
All-
than we have gotten
All in favor, please.
And we should hire him.
All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Abstain.
Next, we have a series of agreements with Essex County. First is the 284 agreement, which is pursuant to the provisions of the highway law. We are going to expend money with the county to repair the corner of Harding and Springfield Road, a distance of 0.8 miles. Shall be expended not over the sum of $95,000. This agreement needs to be executed by all council people, then the highway superintendent, and returned to the county. May I have a motion to accept this?
Make it.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next is we have a series of agreements with the county regarding salting. So we have contract one. This agreement is an agreement to maintain county roads. This runs through the calendar year of 2024, and it contains lots of stuff. So we have a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign this contract.
Make it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
May I have a question about the process of the board? John, you had said that what I had said about the seconding does not have to agree at the end, correct? That when you second.
Yes, he showed me the video. I saw your video.
Okay, but, so if I were to second something that I wanted to discuss, I do not need to vote yes in the end. That's what I was under the impression was, that's what I brought up. I just want to make sure that, is that how the board understands it?
Fine with me.
They ever clarified that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
A second doesn't necessarily mean you voted.
Right, we're just
So we have to
entering
do
a
a roll call
discussion,
vote.
right?
When we do that, when you're not gonna go with it, we have to have a roll call.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, you may have, it may be the case that you seconded something and then after discussion didn't think it was such a good idea.
Right.
That's fine.
Can we request a roll call vote anytime?
Yes.
I'm just asking.
Yes. Roll call votes are required for when we're spending money.
But they can be requested.
Yes. So listen, where am I?
Whether we carry this maintenance agreement or not,
This is the state snow and ice agreement.
did we
Everybody read
Yeah,
the
we did.
maintenance agreement?
Did we?
The first one, this one.
Okay, so the next contract is the state snow and ice. This is an agreement between Essex County and the town of Wilmington that it runs from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2027, and we're getting it now. This is the agreement by which the state asks us to take care of its highway portions. The county is the intermediary, and we get paid money by the state to plow 86, for example. So that's the contract. So there's motion,
Make it.
second,
I'll second.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The final one is a county agreement for control of snow and ice on county roads. And this runs this year. And this is us agreeing to take care of snow and ice on the county roads, for which we get paid the sum of $5,978 per mile county road that we work on. And so the total amount of money is $89,561.08, paid on 3 installments. So we have a motion to accept, to allow me to sign this.
Make it.
Is there a second? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Gary. The final one is an agreement between the town and the Essex County Board of Election. It's a lease agreement that allows them to use our place for purposes of holding primaries and elections and the general election this year. And it contains the basic terms and conditions on which they get to use the space and who's responsible for what.
I'll make it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Gary. Now, I had up here the resolution to upgrade the town internet and email services. I'm moving to table that. May I have a second to table that?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Table. Now we have to do the budget claims and transfers. You remind me again how am I supposed to say that again?
Authorization to pay bills.
Is that it? Resolution authorized to pay the bills that we
And
reviewed
do budget transfers.
and budget transfers. Okay, may I have a motion to accept that resolution?
I'll make it.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Gary. All right, public comment. Sorry, everyone, I know we've been carrying on, but please, if there's something you want to address to us, that'd be great.
Can I make a very quick comment?
Sure.
One sentence. So if anyone has memories or thoughts of Charles Hazelton you would like to share with me, please do so I can try to write a very good resolution honoring him and expressing our appreciation. So I'm not hard to get a hold of, so please get a hold of me if you have any thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Pat?
What I was gonna ask before, are new homes included in the 150 caps?
I think so. It's 150.
Oh, I thought they weren't included. Okay.
No, I mean, if they hit 150, we're done. Michelle?
Tim, I just wanted to answer your question from earlier about the porta potties for the races. For those particular races, because it's a combined race with the Visitors Bureau and the Sports Council, between the two races, we take care of the fees on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Jim?
John's gonna come to you with the tree on the tennis court.
Mm-hmm.
I provided him with a quote, that I'll volunteer my time, so you don't need to do an amendment to the budget.
Now, he may be in this budget. I'm just talking
Okay,
about
it's an
something.
easy tree,
Yeah.
and we'll put it down, and I'll take care of that. I would also like to thank the board members that were here on time and stood for the pledge of union.
Sir?
Yes, and I'm gonna stand because my legs are screaming to stand
Sure.
right now. It's been a long time. So basically, I appreciate very much that we're moving forward with the cap. We'll never agree on a number, but at least we're moving forward on that. I am very disappointed that the entirety of the work by the SDR committee has been ignored in this process. And I just wanted to really quickly make a few points about a little history here. So over the last 2 years, we've had a lot of debates, a lot of discussion about problems with SDRs, both sides, a lot of conversation. Our previous supervisor kind of faulted the community who, well, at least those members who were not satisfied with the law that was proposed for not participating. Well, it was kind of a confusing time. Just, the communication wasn't great. So yeah, we had a new law. Not many in the public participated, which was very unfortunate. But Roy did do one thing that was really good, and that he did form this SDR committee because he recognized that there were a lot of hard feelings and maybe potentially a lot of ideas that needed to be incorporated that weren't. So we had this committee that was had the goal of addressing concerns that weren't covered in the existing law. The committee produced a document that we heard and discussed at a work session not long ago. And, although there's always plenty of opportunity to debate some of the points in a document like this, there were some good points there. I think I heard earlier at the table that, we need something about an appeal process for special permit, or for SDR permits. Well, there is one in those recommendations. Maybe it was just forgotten, but, there are things there that could be used. But unfortunately, and also a lot of that document was based on research of, other communities and how they're tackling the SDR problem. But unfortunately, the product of that committee work has been completely ignored, just sidelined. I had the feeling at the work session that there was a really strong effort just to kind of say, well, it's too much of a mess. It's too complicated. When it's not. It's just, it needs some refinement. So what did we learn from this? I don't want to sound harsh, but I can't escape the conclusion that some members of the board and our new supervisor just aren't interested in what a big part of the community put together and kind of the will of a lot of people. At that work session, I heard some thank yous to the committee for the effort that they put in. But I had to wonder about how sincere they were if the work was totally ignored. And, the complete dismissal of the proposed regulations must feel to Pat and Nancy Gagne and members of the committee as if the town board wasn't really sincere in their thank you. So just to conclude, it's disappointing to see a process that was intended to reward participation by a broad section of our community lead to sort of a winner-take-all conclusion, other than finding a middle ground that would have been more beneficial for Wilmington.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to make just one comment on this. I think you may be overlooking the fact that what the conclusion was after that long meeting was we were not going to agree on something quick. And one of our board members had drafted a proposed moratorium was going to issue a moratorium. I think the solution was, instead of a moratorium, was to get a cap done quickly. And there were plenty of other things in those proposed regulations that the board could circle back to. But based on listening to the conversation, we wouldn't be able to agree. We have to find points of agreement on the board to take some sort of action to move it forward. And I don't think it's fair to characterize it as a total ignoring of what the other things were saying. The board was facing an issue of, should we put on a moratorium? What are we supposed to do quickly? What can we do quickly? And I remember going through at the next meeting, trying to find what the point of common ground was that we could agree on to get this thing moving forward. That's the way, decisions are made on board levels. And it's not that we've tonight not entertained any of the other things. We said we can always circle back. But if the danger is the town of Wilmington being overrun by STRs, the cap was the solution. And we're still not there. We're still having discussions about, accusations of being unfair and things like that. So I don't necessarily, I'm not going to appreciate you coming in and talking to us about it. And I also appreciate the thought that you put into a lot of the correspondence that you put into the papers and things. It's one of these perpetual sort of arguments we're having. But again, if the danger was we'd be having 300 or 400 SDRs, this is a solution for right now. And then we'll give us some time to do something else on it. Because as I said earlier, that proposal that Tim had said, I actually favor that one. Go ahead, Pat.
I wrote a whole thing about how unfair it was, but when I listened to you speak, it's like the 150 cap is the start, not the end.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean, a moratorium, we were given a copy of a draft moratorium at that thing. Moratoriums are not ideal. This cap would solve it. We could keep moving forward. And circle back, as I said, there are things in that local law. I prefer the zoning solution myself. That's a big question. That's a big ask for this community. It's going to take a heck of a lot of time. I just saw the board. I think I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but you have to find what the narrowest concordance is going to be, and it will solve that problem.
And I appreciate Laura trying to bring us all together.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, so thank you. Anyone else? Okay, and we have a motion to adjourn, please.
I have one.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Dredging,
Who?
dredging the river.
Yeah, well, I did meet with the Osable River. I've had lots of meetings. What we need is a billionaire to drop in. It's only going to get worse, I think, because the plan is everything upstream that used to be man-made that's in the river is being dismantled. So first they took out Marcy Dam. And then, on the way down from Marcy Dam, there are other little things that people had put in the river years ago, like some cement things, little dams, I guess. And those are getting taken out, and it's part of a systematic plan. And so we're setting down our big dam sitting there. And so unfortunately, that's the collection part. And as I said, where we get the money from is really a challenge. And I haven't really put my mind around how that would happen. Some billionaire would make a donation. Darren, you did more analysis into that years ago, right? It's tough, isn't it?
Well, Randy looked at it and
Yeah.
there just really wasn't a good source of funding at the time. And
Yep.
the number, whatever it was now, 10 years ago was in excess of 8 million. And I'm sure that's probably in excess of 15 million now. So,
Wow. In any case, sorry, I don't really know what to say about that. That's hard. So there's a motion to adjourn. Second,
a second.
favor, aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Really kind of
I'm sure that whole section
bad
bad.
about the
Thank you.
Boy.
Does anyone want a hard copy of the CAM ABS?
Actually, I